What is good, everyone? Deanna here with Label Free Podcast. Autumn is in the air, the pumpkins are in the patch, and our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure your man doesn't carve his pants pumpkins when he's grooming, if you know what I mean. Make sure he's keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th edition performance package. Ladies, do we really want to cuddle up with a dude who isn't trimmed? I know I don't. My man's keeping it tight. Get him to take the leap into fall with Manscaped. Help him join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code LABELFREE20. Again, go to manscaped.com and use the code LABELFREE20 for 20% off and free shipping. What is good, guys? This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Actually, I'm really... I got the Kereszti vibes going on for Halloween. This is the Halloween edition. My next guest is a coach. I love my coaches. You absolutely know that. He's a speaker, an educator, a mentor, and an author. Please welcome Tom Kereszti to the show. Tom, as you can see, the dogs are wanting to say hello. So you guys, you know the drill. Please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Hello, dogs. And I don't know if you can see video now, but I've got this big mustache. So for honor of Halloween, I look like one of the munchkins from the Wizard of Oz with this big mustache.
I think you're more like Wild Wild West. All you need is like a cowboy hat and some cowboy boots and like your guns and stuff. You'd be good to go.
Well, way back when I was younger, we had a house in the Hamptons in the Hampton Bays, and one of the things that was we precursored, lip syncing and all that stuff. So we used to put on these little skits in this bar. And one of the ones that we put on was the Wizard of Oz. And I was one of the munchkins. And I had a big mustache just like this.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh, I love it.
We did a little skit with Wizard of Oz. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, I mean, right now in my, I would say fall or winter part of my life. So I've gone through many jobs in corporations. I was an international executive and expat for almost 25 years, living in 6 different countries. Worked on every single continent. So, and then in 2006, I went out on my own, started my own business, ran that for about 10 years, divested from there, and then moved on to San Diego and opened 2 more businesses. And then just hanging out. I come out my back door, I'm on the beach, I walk the beach and living the life.
Yeah, I would like that life. But man, so you've been like all over the place, experienced a lot. So you just have a lot of wisdom and a lot of life experience.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom, a lot, some wins, some failures. And, my book, C-Suite and Beyond, is really a lifetime collection of stories from all over the world. And it just illustrates, times when I failed and times when I succeeded. And the nice thing about it is I think it's a lot less painful learning from other people's mistakes. Sure. I wish I read some books early on in my life. I thought I was cocky. I thought I knew it all. I was, had all the answers and made a lot of dumb mistakes that I could have really avoided if I just listened to some folks and read a few books and listened to wisdom. So now at this stage of my life, I'm just trying to give back to some younger folks or, mid folks, and maybe they'll learn from my mistakes.
Well, that's, you can only hope, right? I mean, I know I should have listened to some people way back in the day, and, it's always like hindsight, right? Hindsight is 2020 if you only would have listened. But I feel like that's part of our growing process, and it's part of our because we are all wired a little bit differently. And some of us are just very hard-headed and like, we know. We have to learn the hard way. I know for me, at least, I've had to learn the hard way. I don't anymore. Okay. Those days are over. You want to give me some advice? I'm going to listen. I'm like, wow, that's really great. I think, I can apply it here, and here. I'm going to listen to you. So when did you write this book? Can you tell us like what inspired you and what made you bring it out? Because writing a book is a very intense process.
It is. As a public speaker, one of the things they teach you is to build a bunch of database of personal stories. 2 reasons for that. One reason is when you're on stage, if you're not, you may forget stuff. Yeah. But if you're talking about your personal stories, you can't forget your personal stories. They're your stories.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just kind of plugging your personal story with a specific point you're trying to make or a specific example. And then the other thing, about personal stories, it helps you connect with the audience.
Okay.
Because if you're just, spewing out facts and you're trying to be a teacher, people don't relate to that. People relate to stories. I was in Ireland about 2 years ago. And one of the things I loved about Ireland is, other than the green and the Irish whiskey and the Guinness doesn't taste anywhere like it does in Ireland. So
now you're talking my language. Maybe the whiskey, not the Guinness so much, but the whiskey.
Well, I got hooked on Irish whiskey now. So one of my favorite ones is called Method of Madness. Fantastic stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, so I'm in Ireland, and one of the things that I noticed about Ireland is everybody talks to you. And not just about, hey, how's the weather? I mean, I was waiting for a ferry to walk over to cross over to the Belfast side from the west side. And this guy walks up with his dog, and he just started talking to us for like 20, 25 minutes, telling us his life story, where he grew up, where his wife grew up, where his in-laws are. Just while we were just waiting for the ferry, he just talked to us, right? And it was just like, that's what the way people are in Ireland, and they share stories.
That's awesome.
So that's really, how people connect. People connect and they form friendships because some stories are exciting and they draw you in. So that's why I started building these stories. And then after I built this database of stories, I said, man, I got enough stories to write a book. So I wrote a book.
So this is just a lifelong journey of all your personal experiences and stories.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey of a lot of stories. And in addition, then you're right, you have all these stories. Then okay, what do I do with all these stories? How do I put structure around this so people actually want to read it? Nobody wants to read a whole bunch of disconnected stories. Then I looked at the stories and I said, okay, well, look, here's a bunch of stories that were part of my life when I was successful, and here's some different stories that were part of my life when I was not successful.
Yeah.
So then I came up with this, format or outline to say, okay, well, what were happening when I was successful. And I came up with these 4 keys. And I said, all right, whenever I was successful, I had these 4 keys. And when I was not successful, I was missing one or more of those 4 keys.
Okay.
Then I said, is it me? Is it unique to me? Or, I looked at some successful companies, some successful people. And I said, well, actually, they all have, they all share those same 4 principles.
Yeah.
So then I wrote the book.
I love it. So why C-suite and beyond?
Well, I spent a lot of time in C-suite. I spent probably about 25, 30 years in C-suite. And then once I retired from corporations and I opened my own business, then that's beyond, right? Yeah. So it's running. I had one business I ran and sold for after 10 years. Then I got 2. I'm partner owners in 2 small businesses now. So, and I don't know what happens 5 years from now to 10 years from now, but there'll be another chapter.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. So maybe a C-suite and beyond part 2. So tell us about your coaching. So if you develop leaders. Mm-hmm. So when did you become a coach, and why was that your focus? Because I talk to a lot of coaches, and every single one is very different on their focus or how they go about coaching. And just, I love it. I learned something new. I grow from talking to my coaches, and I think you guys there are so many people, there's an audience for everyone. And so your form of coaching and what you offer is going to resonate with someone else than, with another coach that focuses on leadership in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, what's my story? That's really what you're asking. My story was
in a roundabout way.
Long time ago, I figured out that my team, I better mentor and coach my team. If I want them to be successful, part of my responsibility is to pour into them. Part of my responsibility is not to tell them what to do. Part of my responsibility is to put a team together and then mentor those members and coach them so they can be successful. I call it creating an environment for success. And by the way, that goes for my kids, it goes for my family. There's nothing that says you shouldn't mentor, you shouldn't coach your kids versus you should mentor and you shouldn't coach your employees. So that's how I kind of got into it early. And I've got some great success stories on it. One of the people that endorsed the back of my book is this guy, Yuri. And Yuri was a brand manager in Prague when I was working there. He had just graduated college, really smart guy. And he had just retired this year, running I think a $1.5 or $2 billion organization. Wow. For a division of the Banchisa Group, which is Peet's Coffee. So, and he writes in the back of the book that I contributed to a lot to, who he became and how he became a successful individual. So when you pour into people, when you mentor them and coach them, it's really gratifying to see people succeed.
I love that. That's amazing. I mean, that's got to be, yeah, I can't even imagine what that feels like. So when you say you develop leaders, are these people that have already been in leadership or looking to get into leadership and you help get them there?
Either, both, right? I mean, leadership is a growth journey,
Yes.
right? It's not like, okay, I hit a point in my life where I'm a fantastic leader, right? I mean, if really that's your attitude, and then you probably are not a good leader, because if you're not continuously growing, I'm 65 and I'm still growing, I'm still learning. So it's a journey, it's a lifetime journey. They say there's 3 levels of leadership. The first level is you lead yourself. The second level is you lead followers, and a third level is you develop future leaders. And really good leaders understand that they should not be afraid to develop future leaders. I was never afraid to say, look, so
Yeah.
some people are afraid to somebody's working for them. They don't want to develop them because they think they're better than they are. And they're afraid that, they will get fired. They will put themselves out of a job because the other person will, can replace them. I say exactly the opposite. You develop leaders so they can replace you, because you may get promoted. I mean, there was this young woman that I was talking to one time, and she said, Tom, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was working for this company and we had this great boss and everybody was firing on all cylinders. We're making the numbers. And so she was really one of those great leaders. And then she left and somebody else came and nothing happened. And then they left and another person came and nothing happened. So that whole team fell apart and everything. So I said, look, I don't think she was as great as a leader as you thought she was.
Yeah.
She was on the second level. She was developing great followers. As long as she was there, they had a great team. Everything was working well. But if she was really a truly great leader, she would have developed the next generation in her organization that when she left, somebody could fill it right in.
Hey guys, Deanna here with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. If you're anything like me, you're a bit overwhelmed by all the teeth whitening products on the market. This next sponsor has provided me with some very interesting facts to pass on to you. Fact number 1, teeth whitening does not whiten your teeth. It removes the stains and restores the tooth to its natural color. Natural colors vary per person, but for most, it's an off-white or slightly yellowish undertone. Fact number 2, teeth whitening does not damage teeth, but it does temporarily dehydrate. When dehydrated, the pores in the enamel are open and exposed. Open pores invite acids and sugars, which, as we all know, lead to tooth decay. Avoid or minimize acidic and sugary substance for at least 24 hours after whitening. Also, avoid staining substances, as the teeth are more susceptible to restaining during this period. Fact number 3, tooth sensitivity is the result of tooth dehydration. When the pores of the enamel are open, the teeth become dehydrated, exposing the nerve to the elements. As the tooth rehydrates, the sensitivity will dissipate. To accelerate the rehydration and curb sensitivity, use a post-whitening application known as remineralization or desensitizing gel. Fact number 4, caps and veneers cannot be whitened because they do not have pores for the stains to latch to. Prior to having dental work, you should whiten your teeth, restoring them to their natural color, as the dentist will be color matching to your current shade. Fact number 5, the key to teeth whitening is the delivery device. So long as a whitening product is a peroxide based whitener, it will remove the stains. What differentiates one product from the next is the device that holds the whitening agent to the tooth without interruption. Whitening strips neglect the crevices and molars, and they slide on your teeth. Saliva floods the generic trays because they are bulky and do not create a seal. And that's something I used to use. So it's good to know this. And you likely did not know this, but LED lights are novelty items that add no benefit. You need a high output UV light only found at the dentist. Don't fall for the gimmick. If you insist on a light that does not work, get one on Amazon for under $15 or under $5, whatever. The number one whitening device recommended by dentists is a custom fitted tray. You can have your dentist make your trays for $300 to $500, or you can head on over to www.smilebrilliant.com and use their lab direct mail-in process for a fraction of the price you would pay at the dentist. Oh, and if you grind your teeth at night, you can also purchase the Smile Brilliant's custom fitted night guards, once again, for a fraction of the price the dentist charge. Once again, that's www.smilebrilliant.com and use coupon code FREE for 30% off for an exclusive discount by Label Free Podcast. All right, you guys, happy teeth whitening. I've been a leader. I've been in the C-suite, and I was over 150 employees, and I've gone up and down, like leading myself, then having followers, and then developing leaders. I have developed leaders, and that is such a great compliment to what you're capable of. For me, at least, I was always wanting to empower my people, but it took some time to get there, because I was a leader at a very young age, and I go back and forth. But I actually took a class to become a life coach, because I wanted to become a better communicator. Can I talk much? Yeah. Anyways, and it really helped me become a better partner, a better boss, a better sister, a better daughter, a lot of different things. And I'm very proud of some of the women that have worked for me that are leaders today, and they're thriving in their career. And I do take some credit for that.
As you should.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that growth is it's never ending. You should always be looking for ways to improve yourself, grow within, and just like mentally and emotionally. And I mean, I'm really big into, just that what's the word I'm looking for? What's the self-development? There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that if you're going to grow, you should not be afraid to fail.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are petrified of failure. And, the fact is, if you haven't failed, you haven't tried, and you haven't done anything. And the other thing is, we over exaggerate the consequences of failure.
Yes.
So we paint this picture of, oh my God, if I'm going to fail, what's going to happen, and how's this going to work, and how's that going to work, and the fact is, when you fail, it's not as dramatic. You're still gonna, and that happened to me the first time I got fired from a job. After 15 years of rising the corporate ladder, and every 2 or 3 years being promoted, all of a sudden I got axed. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to my family, to my kids? Can I pay my bills? Like all these things just kind of rattle to your mind, especially for me. After 15 years, it was like going through a major divorce, because you spent 15 years with a company.
Yeah.
And then, it took me about 2 weeks to kind of calm myself down. And I said, okay, well, look, actually, this is an opportunity. So I took some time, and I said, okay, well, what am I about? What do I stand for? And I kind of, quote unquote, branded myself. And from that point on forward, I became, quote unquote, a turnaround startup specialist in emerging markets. Wow. And then I became a hot, hot commodity that, companies were, after. So yeah. I got all these great job offers, as long as I was in emerging markets, to run businesses. And there were some things where I said, okay, it's a no-go zone. Like I'm not going to relocate my entire family to the Far East, to China or something.
My gosh.
That's that's a no-go zone. I also had another no-go zone. I had a bunch of cigarette companies and liquor companies in Russia, after me, and I said, look, I really don't want to go to Russia. And number two, I love visiting Russia. Moscow and St. Petersburg is absolutely gorgeous, but just the work environment was a little bit tough at that time. I mean, not a good friend, but a friend of a friend who went to Russia to start up DHL. Didn't want to pay off the local goons, and they put a bullet in his head. So
yeah. No thanks. That's not like, I'd say that's a little rough work environment.
So that kind of happened, but so I failed, and then I reinvented myself. I rebranded myself, and I had another great run for 15-20 years after that.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that you telling that story and being very vulnerable is like, I mean, I think people need to hear that, because I think that we still in this crazy world we live in, we still have this idea that people that are truly successful don't fail, but they do. You fail over, you know, and actually a lot of really successful people have failed over and over and over and over again. They just don't let it define them or let it hold them back. They keep finding new ways to reinvent themselves and find that next path to success that they're supposed to be on.
Well, unfortunately, you know, we live in a world of social media.
Yeah.
So you never see anybody posting anything on Instagram or Facebook that says, you know, I messed up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everything that you see on Facebook and Instagram is, oh, look at my life, how wonderful it is, and you know, the beautiful place I'm in, and what I'm traveling and I'm doing. I mean, everything is great news. Everything is perfect. But life is not perfect. You know, life doesn't work that way. But we just don't know about it because I guess just the social environment we're in. We have quote unquote, you know, 15,000 friends or 20,000 friends, but we don't really have, you know, maybe, you know, I can count the number of friends I have. I have
real friends.
Yeah, real friends that, you know, that you can share stuff with, that you can be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be vulnerable, you know.
Yes.
It's okay for guys to cry. Now in football, you can't cry, but it's okay for guys to cry.
It's healthy to have that emotional release every once in a while. Okay,
Yeah.
before we get too off track, if somebody wants to find you, reach out to you, or interested in hiring you as a coach or a speaker, where can they find you? Can you plug all your links really quick?
Yeah, so leadershipdisciples.com or Kereszti, KERESZTI.com. That'll get you the same place. You can just go to Amazon and look for C-Suite and Beyond, and you'll find, you know, my last name there, and so you can kind of track me down. The good news is, you know, if my last name was Smith, you find a lot of folks. But with a last name like Kereszti, you'll find me, my sister, and my 2 daughters. That's you know, that's pretty much it. So that's you know, one of the things. And the other thing is, if you go to my website, you can get a free download of an executive summary of the book. So sure, you know, I think I would love you to buy a, you know, Kindle version or regular version of the book, because I think this is just very rich in stories that will help you succeed. But if you just want to, you know, if you don't want to make the investment, if you just want to get a free executive summary, you just go to my website and you can download it for free.
Awesome. And I will make sure I put all those links in the show notes, you guys. So please take advantage. If you are looking to be a leader or a current leader, or know someone that's struggling as a leader, don't hesitate to reach out to Tom or check out his book and get that free download. I will have all those links in the description of the episode. And there goes Athena again. Tom, like I said before we start recording, I like to ask my guests before we wrap things up, any last words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I always, when I ask that question, I always answer the same way. Know who you are. So draw 3 circles. Where the 3 circles intersect is where you should be living your life. So the first circle, ask yourself a question: who am I? And the answer for that, for me, is I'm a servant leader. The second question in the second circle goes, what are you passionate about? Right? And I'm passionate about making people better, making companies better. A common terminology is called add value, which is washed out, not everybody uses it, but that's what it boils down to: just, you know, adding value, making people better, and making companies better. And the third question is, what are you good at? And I'm a good mentor and I'm a good leader. So that's kind of the 3 questions that everybody should be able to answer. And if you can live your life where those 3 circles intersect, you'll have a successful and a happy life.
I love that. That was beautifully put. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that little practice, a little test for myself. And no, actually, I'm doing great. I've had some personal issues. We've had some hard times connecting, but you know, that's life, up and down. You know, the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, but it's been an absolute pleasure, Tom. Thank you so much for being a guest. I will please keep us posted on any future projects, or if you have another book that comes out, C-Suite 2 and beyond, let us know so we can share it with the audience. You guys, this is Kereszti with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.